Would like to open the Water Commissioners meeting of February 10th at 7:01 p.m. Notice of access and participation. Governor Baker updated the state of emergency to respond to COVID-19 on June 16th, 2021, in order an extension of certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, put into effect March 12th, 2020, until April 1st, 2022, at which time the extension will be repealed. This is being streamed on Zoom and recorded. And the meeting is now open. May I have a roll call? Todd Melanson, Chairman, present.
Mr. Jones, present.
And everybody else, if they would, announce themselves. Dave? Jazz?
Jazz Sexton Duranian, Selectman.
Mike, if you would.
Mike Schrader, Ty and Bond.
Good enough. I have no additions and deletions. 5.1.5, I do not believe we have any correspondence nor appointments. So we shall go straight to 3.1, review and discuss rate study results. Mike, thank you for rescheduling and making it to this meeting. It's really appreciated.
My pleasure. Mr. Demazur, could you enable screen sharing, please?
Hold on, I have to figure out how to do it. Please hold.
If you can't, you can make me a co-chair, I believe. Todd, there's no
I just
place.
made you a co-host. That was easier. You should be good now.
Say again?
No place I'd rather be than with water people.
Yeah.
For a bunch of trips.
Listen, I had 3 breaks today. I'm trying to brain scattered right
You
now.
know, I was thinking about you because I saw a bunch of the news in the news. They're all over the place. Must be the thaw. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
All right. Did it just change?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So, first question: did you all get the revised handout?
When did it get sent out? I'm sorry.
I sent it after our last meeting.
They sent it with the package 2 days ago.
Okay, that was the second time, right, Dave?
Right.
Okay.
With the new Zoom codes but you should have got it 2 days ago.
That's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to, spend too much time going over stuff that you don't need to. But basically, just to go through some of the basics of rate setting or the rate fundamentals, the biggest and most important part is that you recover your cost of service, your full cost of service. And I think you're in good shape there. But really what that means is that instead of all requirements met, I've changed that to delivering the level of service that you're looking for, which includes your regulatory requirements and your customer expectations. You're fully staffed. And, this is a stacked room. But the first thing that happens when you don't have enough rate revenue is you start, first capital goes, and then they stop filling vacancies.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we're fully staffed moving forward. And then you have a proactive repair and maintenance program. That's the other thing I see the most for underfunded utilities is people say, wow, our debt's coming off in 2 years. Like, well, that's great. That means you haven't done anything in 18 years probably, And then the second part, so the idea with the enterprise fund is you determine what your revenue needs are, or also expenses. And then once you do that, then you're looking at how do I distribute those costs back to the customers of the utility in a fair and equitable manner. So we're talking residential versus non-residential, large households versus small, and essential use versus discretionary use. And then the third element is to provide revenue stability and resource protection in terms of, Usage trends, we've all talked about the rainy summers and what that can do to your revenue. That is an element of rate design, and so with permit limits. If you're reaching your permitted limit or your registered limit, that's when you really need to start trying to manage demand. The process that we use a, I want to say it's a spreadsheet model for developing the rates and analyzing the rates. And there's the two parts, and the parts that look like little spreadsheets are the model itself, the components to it. And then the big boxes sort of outlay the process. So the first thing, like we just said, is figure out your expenses. So I look at your operating expenses, project those forward, look at your existing debt. We don't project that, comes from your debt schedule. And then we look at your capital plan, or we develop one with you. Those three comprise the expenses that you need to cover. Our look ahead, or our evaluation period, is 10 years by default. Depending on the utility, most people's CIPs start to get a little thin around 5 years. The expectation is not that you're going to set 10 years of rates, but it gives you an idea, it gives you a way to look ahead and see what's coming in the future. And then from there, I say project revenues, but we don't project revenues. I calculate them based on projected usage and then whatever rate structure we're looking at. And then we calibrate, we compare to data that we have in terms of either commitments or actual received revenues, so that we have an idea of the model calibration. So having done that, then we develop the dashboard. Really should be called the pro forma, and that's where we look at your expenses and your revenues at the same time, calculate the net revenue, which is just the difference. And for each rate structure that we're looking at, we adjust the rates by adding, or I should say applying, a integer multiplier or a percentage increase to every piece of whatever rate structure we're looking at. We don't change the base different than the usage fees. We just run it all down. Not to say that we can't, but just by default, we just apply the same increase across. And what I do is I do it to maintain a fund balance. If we can, the default is 20% of operating expenses. I think we're going to see yours dips a little low the first year. And then from there, you calculate the user costs, because unlike, again, this is a kind of a stack board, because TUI are in the industry. So usually what I do anyway, is calculate costs for customers. Certainly for the typical residential user, because that's generally who people are most concerned about. In your case, when we're changing rate structures or evaluating a different rate structure, we also look a little more broadly, because I don't want to leave you. My goal is that the client, the board, the stakeholders, they make an informed decision. I'm not telling you do this. I'm saying this is what you can do. These are your options. These are what it looks like when you do that. And one of the things I'm aware of is we don't want to leave, and then 3 months later you have your phone ringing off the hook because people are, the bigger users are surprised that their bill went up and whatnot. So in this case, we're going to show a bunch of comparisons before and after on the two alternatives. So, and then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about affordability. So your operating expenses, we went through, we looked at FY18 to FY31, we looked at your average budget, the change, what went up, what went down. And then basically, just to move things along, we take the FY23 budget and then escalate it in a linear fashion. We just go straight up at the escalators that we're showing, which in this case are, I don't know why I have so many, actually, I'm sorry. We don't project capital or debt. So the capital we take off the capital improvement plan, and then the debt we take off the debt schedule. So everything else is projected. You had transfers in and transfers out. We did not use those. And then for the indirects, we did those on the pro forma based on the historic values, and I think we had a projected value for 23. So your capital improvement plan, most of this comes from the master plan completed by Ty and Bond, I think a year or two ago. And then we also took some from his own 40-year capital plan. We brought some in there from that. And then the PFAS water treatment plan is, of course, the biggest, the elephant in the room. And that was developed from the PEF that was put in last year. The total construction cost is estimated at $14.8 million with assumed principal forgiveness at 13.2% based on Townsend's ranking. The SRF ranks them as a 1, 2, or 3, depending on your socioeconomic status. And I can't tell you, I forget what the things are, but it's your percentage of income, of the state income. Yes, sir.
So, couple
Oh, I'm
things.
sorry, I couldn't see your hand.
That's all right. So on this, you said the total cost will be around 14.1 million.
That's what we've estimated. Yes,
All right.
14.8.
All right.
14.8. Yeah.
All right. Is that with design and final design and engineering?
The final design is separate. That is
Right.
including, so the SRF does not fund design. So the
No,
only-
well, currently, so couple things. One, PFAS under Clean Water Trust and SRF, according to the last briefing they gave on January 27th, PFAS treatment, if you go through SRF, they're actually talking about 0% interest and
Right.
100% principal forgiveness.
Right. This is all the worst case scenario. We haven't got anything back from.
Dave, let me finish, please. Raise your hand and I'll recognize you, but let me finish. I was wondering if you had figured out I didn't know if this was part of it or not, but a debt structure, like a bond debt fee or how the debt would be handled or what. So those were a couple of my questions.
Yeah, so we asked the trust about the 0%. My understanding is that's for 20 years. And we're not sure, we don't have a not a straight answer, but confirmation of what the interest would be for 30 years. Typically, it goes up from 2% to like 3.5%. So we carried a 1%, thinking it would go from 0 to 1. Now, as far as the principal forgiveness, again, I'm more than grateful for any news you have because we're all, scrambling. But I know that I've heard that 50% of
I'll send you the Clean Water Trust presentation that we have because I have that. It's at work, but I
Yep.
can email it to you. And those were the projects that they were listing. The other thing is, so you're saying the design and engineering is going to be the 205 and the 495?
correct. The preliminary was paid for with ARPA, and the design will be paid for with a 5-year note. At least that's my understanding.
Because the other thing is in that presentation, they also were talking about changing the rules for clean water and allowing engineering design in the bond. So
Just for PFAS or for?
I think so, yeah. Because that's what's hanging up a lot of people.
Oh, right.
So what did you figure for engineering? I thought it was usually, you kind of, as a rule of thumb, use 10% of the budget or the project to do your engineering and design.
So Full disclosure, I did not develop those costs myself. I used those from Lou and from the
Okay.
the design team. Yeah, typically, all in, engineering is roughly 20% of construction. And how much of that is on design is, 7, 8, 9, 10%, depending on the facility. And honestly, like when you're rehabbing a facility, it's usually higher because you got to work around existing stuff. And then the rest is on construction admin and, oversight and that, or observation. So that was, like I said, I took the numbers from the plan and from Lou and the design team.
All right. All right, so we can, all right, so this is worst case scenario.
Well, that's in general.
No, I know, but you also said that you do have like a bonded structure built into this presentation?
Yep.
All right, I'll shut up now. Go ahead,
So-
Dave, you had a question or
Yeah.
want to say?
Engineering costs were $700,000.
Say again?
The engineering costs were $700,000.
So it's 495 on the sheet.
Plus the 205.
Oh, okay.
But we already have outlaid some.
All right. All right.
So yeah, Todd, I to the right of this would be each year's cost. So if
Yeah.
it says rate, and I should go through that, I guess. Rate means it's funded out of either the current year's budget, like budget capital, or if it exceeds the amount of the revenue, it comes out of the reserves. It's like a checkbook model where the your revenue are the deposits and all the expenses are the withdrawals. And you start with your retained earnings balance, and then going forward, we either are building up or spending down that reserve as we go. And you'll see that in a few slides. So most of the rest of the projects here, like I said, were either from the master plan or from Dave's his capital improvement plan. So this is the expense side of the pro forma. So it adds up everything that's what we just talked about. The budget for FY22 is what we're projecting off. Then we took the capital from the budget, but then going forward, it comes from the capital plan. And the debt we held steady because we didn't have a projected debt schedule, so we just held it at the 103,000. And I apologize. That's FY23 is actually the budget, and we went from there. I just didn't click the thing to change it. So looking at going forward, this is what your pro forma looks like in terms of expenses. And just to put, perspective on it, this is what 25% over FY23 looks like, 50%, and then 75%. So by FY30, it's going to be an increase of 75% over where you are now. And I like to do that because it helps people understand what you're dealing with trying to get there. And of course, if the if the PFAS goes to 100% principal forgiveness, then, that is a game changer. And also to make this easier for people to grasp, honestly, I prepared this well, having met you and started to talk to you guys. I wanted to show that this is your debt service for call it your regular projects, your new debt service. And I distinguish it from existing debt because that, existing debt is old projects that you're paying for. And new debt is, your projects moving forward. From the accounting and the bookkeeping and the enterprise, it's the same thing. But I like to differentiate them because it shows, where your money's going in the future. And then because it had such a significant impact, we broke out the PFAS separately, just in a different color, so you can see what's leading to it. And again, that's partly because, sometimes when I present, it's all over the place and people are concerned with just buying pickup trucks and stuff. So I like to show them where the money's going, where it's coming from and how it's being distributed. And those are your indirect costs in there. So we carried those forward based on the past. And then, when we look at revenue, so like I said, we don't project revenue. It's always interesting to me when I look and I'll see projected revenue on, financial stuff. And I always wonder, well, where'd you get that? Well, it's based on what we had last year. Like, ugh. It's New England. It's never the same as it was last year. It's never the same as it was last week. So looking at your revenue just in general, this is most systems. You have rate revenue comes directly from people paying their water bills, and then you have non-rate, which is everything else. So for the rate revenue, it's about 90% of your total revenue, and 70% of that is based on usage. So I'm actually going to put this over here so it doesn't look like I'm staring off into space. So because of that, we look at the forecasting, the water use trends, because again, it's not often where it's just sitting still. So what we looked at was the water use from the ASR from 2010 to 2021. And then we had 1 year of actual data, and it was right in there. That is the actual dot. So it was very, very close, which always makes me happy when the ASR data and the meter data is very close. It means that it's, we don't have to go talk about meter math, but we adjust the ASR down for, we put it on a fiscal basis. We use the monthly FinCon value, and then we take out any UAW to get it, on the same basis. And then looking at the trend, we've projected, again, that it's going to be decreasing at roughly 2% a year. And because it's so important, or it's such a primary input in terms of future revenue, if we over project and say, well, it's gonna keep going at the level it is, and it doesn't, then you guys are waiting for money that never comes in. It's just the revenue is never what we thought. If I go too low, then the model's going to scream for high rates and higher increases. So we do try to think about this and look at and always discuss it with the client to make sure that they're good on it. And then your non-rate is everything else, and we forecast that based on the historic values. What has it been? What do we think it's going to be going forward? So this is your actual, received revenues, and I'm just thinking this probably looks small on your screen. This kind of handout format was because of COVID, and I had to send things out in advance, so I condense it a little bit more, thinking people are looking at it in hard copy as well. But we look at, this is your total revenue going forward. And then on this side is your non-rate revenue. So we looked at your system development charges, and that's been around $12,000. So, again, trying to make a, reasonably accurate yet conservative estimate. The transfers in, there was transfers in and transfers out that they netted out, and they don't, we just didn't use them going forward because I'm not sure what they were used for in the past, but we didn't carry them in the future. So,
Excuse me, Mike. Dave, do you have a statement?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
All right. Can you lower your hand then?
You got to unclick. And I can't see that. I got to put this over here. For some reason, when you go into screen share, it puts everybody on a small thing, and it's like, I want to see people's faces, but it's hard. So anyway, what we're carrying forward for non-rate revenue is this liens, penalties, and taxes, or not taxes, I'm sorry. I call it liens, penalties, and prior year because there's 100 different ways people call it, but it's basically anything that results from non-payment. And yours was actually pretty reasonable, fairly low amount. System development charges, we carried for you $12,000, and then everything else was $60,000, which is service charges, backflow, utility fees, et cetera, and so on. Again, that's actually remarkably stable. So hopefully it'll increase. And that's what I want to see when I come to update it in a year or two. I want to see, wow, it's actually really good, and we're seeing more growth or whatnot. So now we take the second part of the pro forma that's the revenue that we calculate based on the on that usage and on your existing rates. And this shows that without making any changes to your rates, and you can see that revenue going down by that 2%, it's, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody, but it's not sufficient to run the enterprise. So this yellow line here is your retained earnings, and that's your percentage of operating expenses that we're showing here. And that's my goal, is to keep that around 20% as we can. And the big drop here from 117% to 19%, a lot of projects got done out of that reserve, and that helped save debt expenses and whatnot, but it dropped that retained earnings. So going forward, we need to come up out of the hole and then come up to that higher level. So the first alternative is, like I said, back in that first slide, we look at what do we have to do if we maintain the existing rate structure to try to get those reserves up where they need to be. And so looking at that and starting at a pretty low 9%, we needed a 50% increase. And this is FY23. It's too late to change in FY22. So a 50%, a 20%, a 16, and a 16 is what it takes to get up to that level of revenue that you need. And, at the end, we're going to show what the cost impacts are. And so, we'll just save it for then. So these are the existing rates, and that would be the FY23 version with the increases shown. So let me just go on to the next one. So then when I talked to Dave initially, or actually I think he was already ahead of me and wanted to look at tiered rates. So we looked at tiered rates and we developed a tiered rate structure. And when we develop tiered rates, we look at the usage distribution for summer and winter, and we look at it for residential, non-residential. And for the summer residential usage, this is what the distribution looks like. So each one of these vertical bars is the number of bills on this axis, and then the amount of usage in cubic feet for the quarter on this axis. So you can see this actually corresponds to the percentage, right? So 50% of your users were using 1,500 cubic feet a quarter, which is a pretty modest amount of usage. And that's where we set that first tier break, because you want to, the idea, like we said, is you want to sort of discourage that use. Far on the right is your total discretionary use. And I hope I'm not going into the weeds too much, but the first part of this chart, that first tier one, is essential water use. So it's bathing, it's cooking, it's laundry. It's basically what you do in the wintertime, to put it bluntly. And then the rest, is sort of in the middle here, is, washing your car and, gardening and whatever, and, watering your lawn. But for residential, once you get way out there, it's the big green lawns that usually look at that. So,
Mike,
yes, sir.
where does our commercials in the schools and stuff fit?
So they're going to be in
this?
the non residential, and that's all we did. We broke. It was either.
Oh, this is just residential? I'm sorry.
Yep.
I apologize.
No, I didn't even show the non-residential because it's like it looks like a hockey player's smile. You just got these random things around. But I will show it, and before the meeting, because I knew you were going to be here, thought I have the model up, I have the distribution, I have all that stuff up if you want to get in the weeds after. But this is what we looked at for a residential tier structure. And then the second part, just thinking if I showed, I don't know if I showed it, we can go off on the side, but the tiers are defined by two parts. It's like a stair. You have the tread, which is the volume of water that it's in each tier. And then you have the riser, and that's the price difference between tier one and the next tier, at least the way I look at it. So I go, tier 1 is 1.0, tier 2 is whatever, 1.7, 1.5, whatever, and then tier 3, they're all multiplied by that first tier. So it helps you set that that pricing. And these are the ratios, the volumes that we use. So for that residential was 15, 3,000, 4,500, and 4,500 plus. For non-residential, we basically used bigger tiers, bigger steps. So it's 5,000 for the first step and above 5,000 after it. And we, so there's two rates there. They both have the same first tier rate, and the non-residential is the same second tier rate as residential. And then that's it. It stops. It caps. And see if I can do this without saying.
Oh, no, I'm just wondering the impact this is going to have on the businesses.
Oh, yep. And I did put them in there. So, okay. I'm sorry, I should have put it on here. So we have the 4 tiers, and so the second tier is 1.25 times, and third tier is 1.75 times. And that, I'm sorry, first tier is, second tier is 1.5 times the cost of tier 1. Third tier is 2.0 times, and then fourth tier is 2.5 times. I don't like to go, I try to stay under 3 for a top tier value, just because it's, you know, it's in the range of what you see in most communities. So anyway, so the that second tier for non-residential and residential are both 1.5 times the first tier. So it's a 50% increase in cost at a larger increase in usage. So here, the rest of this, Todd, is going to be cost impacts. So what I looked at, and once I figure out the rates and we come up with something that we go back and forth and we think is going to work, the next thing is, well, how do I explain it to people? How do I show these impacts? How do I get, you know, a feel for what it's going to do? So what I did was we showed the summer usage, and I put quotes because the way the quarters are, they don't really fall right into the seasons, but it's each is 3 months, and it's basically the high period and the low period. So I call them summer and winter because that's what the state calls them. And I picked for the high usage, I picked 1,500 for this. This is a low water user, a low residential water user. And that's roughly 2 people using 65 gallons a day. 65 gallons a day is the state's goal for residential per capita water use. And it's a reasonable amount of water, but there's not a ton of discretionary use, meaning the summer to winter ratio is, you know, and this, I left them in here intentionally because this is what you see when you look at water use data. There's always going to be someone using more in winter than they do in summer. And I didn't filter that out because that is your data. And anyway, so with the tiered rates, I showed the cost here for that quarter. So this is not a full year. This is two bills, the summer bill and the winter bill. And for the low water user, the tiered rates are lower in all cases. So cut to the chase there. And you know what? Let me just keep my momentum going. And then if you want to go back, I'd be more than happy to.
All right, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
So moderate water users, same thing, summer to winter. Here I picked 3,100. That's right around here. And that's 4 people using 65 gallons a day. Or any combination, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to paint a picture of what that looks like. Summer, winter is a little higher, meaning there is some discretionary water use. Again, they all save a little bit on the tiered rates. And then the high water users, these guys have really high summer to winters. And I did look at these to make sure I wasn't, I'll look at addresses in Google Maps to make sure I'm not picking a supermarket that got called a residential account or something. And they're I think you know where they are. They're just big homes on big lots with big green lawns. And here in the summer, their cost is going to go up. So that bill would go from $2,800 to $5,200, from 22 to 4 to, so the delta, it's a plus $2,500. But it's also a lot of discretionary water use. So, and then their winter use is actually pretty reasonable. This house used a lot. I'm not sure why, but anyway, then to what you were concerned about is your non-residential top 10. So this first one is an industrial account. Excuse me. It's your biggest water user in town. And this is actually your top 10. And we put apartments in non-residential because that's usually how they're considered, because it's too many units and it's not, they're usually managed by a company and not just by a homeowner. So in this case, the tiered rates, it would go up. I didn't do the percentages. We could do the percentages, but it goes up basically $5,000 from $25,000 to $30,000, and then the winter from 15 to 18. And then, similarly going down here, you have showing the difference in increase in each one of these. And if it would help, I could do it as a percentage. I should have when I thought of that. I didn't do it. Or we
No,
can
it's
look
all
at
right.
that.
It's all right. It's all right.
Um,
So it looks like the schools in the summertime will have an increase of like 128.
which is
And-
4,000.
No. And then they're going to have a decrease in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Well, that's an easy, so their net savings a little bit.
Yeah.
I got a question for
Go
like
ahead, Chris.
These are not a
the
year.
people that own the houses and whatnot. We just got through this PFAB, the water's been bad and, we're paying for that. Now the next year, you're just going to tell us we have to pay 50% more. I'm thinking that people are going to tell you to go fly a kite because that's crazy. We've been dealing with shitty water. Now you're going to jack it up.
Well-
I think there's going to be hard to get to fly.
So
Well,
I'm going to show you. Let me go to your next slide first. Let's just see. Okay, so what we looked at here is the annual cost for a typical water user, and I believe this is either 2 or 2.5 people at 65. It's 2.5 people at 50 gallons a day per person. So that's a modest amount of water use, and that's generally what we look at as the like a more frugal way. And again, I can adjust it. We can look at different usages if you want. But what we do is we look at what is your cost, total annual cost, and then what is it under the other structure to see what that looks like. And I can tell you in 2017, the average cost of water in Massachusetts was it was like $600, and it was $595 in 2017, and that's a little high because it was based on 120 cubic feet. So anyway, you're not getting there until, even call it FY22 from 2017. So the water rates were low to start with. So yes, it's, and Chris, there's no easy way about it. We talk about PFAS versus what everybody else is usually dealing with, iron and manganese. Iron and manganese you kind of see coming. PFAS is like, boom, it's like a heart attack. All of a sudden you have it. And, trying to get rid of it, you need treatment and so on. So what this slide looks at is an indicator for, that is used to identify the cost or quantify the cost burden for water and sewer rates. Now, you guys don't have sewer, so I included $500 a year in the cost for septic system pumping. You know, the lowest quintile income here, they probably don't have a house. It's probably living in an apartment or in housing. So again, you know, if you want to change that, we can. But basically, you look at the total cost of the water and sewer and stormwater, if you charge for it, and divide by the lowest quintile income. So the top one is the residential indicator, which you know, looks at the median household income, that 2% of household income. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's not a great indicator because median, you know, is in the middle, and it's not really a good indicator. So this household burden indicator came about to do a better job of that. And so it looks at the lowest 20th percent in your town. And then this poverty prevalence indicator is what percentage of your town is 200% or below, at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. So make a long story short, you come into this table, you're less than 20, and then even at FY31, without increasing that static lowest quintile income ever, we just carry the same one through the 10 years, it's still considered to be a moderate to low burden. You know, Chris, I'm not going to tell you that, you know, I don't have $100 in my pocket to give you. I understand everything costs money. This is looking at a situation where, you know, it just popped up, and we're just looking at the numbers to try to figure out how to do that.
So here's the problem, Chris, too. If we keep the structure in the rate that we have now, we won't be able to run the water department. If we keep the existing rate structure as a one level to meet what our expected demands with the plant and everything else, that Alt A, maintaining the existing structure, those are the levels that we're going to have to charge, and those are the costs that the people are going to see. If we do a tiered rate structure like we're talking about, it stays somewhat even up until about FY26. And then it does increase, but nowhere near the increase that we see if we keep the existing structure. But right now, we are mandated to build the plant. And I'll get to you in a second, Dave. I see your hand. I think we need to present this to the public, to be honest with you. But I don't think, Chaz, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can vote this in. I just think we need to present everything to the community first before we jump to this rate structure. But it is up to you and me to vote which way it goes.
I could say I would possibly, I'll vote for it to go, but I want another vote with like more, because personally speaking, I don't know anything about this. You guys are saying all this numbers and letters, it's all blah, blah, blah to me. I can't make a decision this huge and sleep at night and be comfortable, because who knows who's going to come to my house saying, hey, this motherfucker made the wrong decision. And they, you know, like this is really big in my head. And like I said, I don't know enough to say, yeah, I like Todd, you know a lot. I support your knowledge. I know I'm glad that I get to listen to what you're saying and all this stuff, but I can't personally give my vote, because in my head, a lot of people are going to be very they might leave this town. I might leave the town. You know what I mean? Because that's huge. I came to this town thinking it was a beautiful, quiet, you know, sanctuary. Now here I am. I'm getting told my water's poison and blah blah. You know, there's a lot of stuff I'm not comfortable
I'm
with.
going to be honest with you. There's 65 other communities in the
Same.
and two of the local ones actually 3 more local ones to us are going to be in the same boat.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I'll definitely vote for the people to put in a little extra, so they at least know what we're all up against on the, not just what, I understand they could be at this
Wait a minute,
meeting
Dave.
too, but
Dave, wait a minute.
All his questions.
Go right ahead, Dave.
All right. One, Harbor Trace was shut down. There's no PFAS in the water now, but we lost 42% of our capacity. Witches Brook 2 is at a 17.8. If it goes over 20 for a quarter, I have to shut it down. We'll be at 42% capacity total. And Witches Brook 1 is already. If the treatment plant doesn't go in the summer, there are going to be days there's not going to be water. And that's what, straight out. And if it doesn't go in, this town is done for what the water department's done, because there's not enough water. And that's putting it right in a nutshell. And this is the worst case scenario. If that $12 million can come off the book, and we only have to do the rate hikes for 1 year. Now, there's also a 4-month delay. So if you raise rates on March 1st, they don't take effect till July. So, because you can't change the rates in the middle of a cycle.
You should.
Got it. Yeah, you shouldn't.
If we're, just to be clear too, that this second line, it shows the annual increase. And that first one is a big hit on the existing rate structure of $200. And then from there, it starts going down, around $100, $120. And then after that, it's lower. And again, I can't say, what's a lot of money or not, but it's
That's an annual amount, correct?
correct. This one is. The previous ones weren't. It was just the 2 quarters. This is the annual amount. And for your information going forward, or for public information, this is 2 people at 50. We can show a higher amount. We can show a more typical, whatever you think is a best, that's going to hit those people, Chris, that you're, concerned they're going to come to your house, to show them. And the rub is, and I've done this for smaller systems, and I didn't want to look at it sometimes, but this is the rub. You're going from here now to up here, and that's a big jump. And if it was in 5 years, you could kind of build up and kind of go. But when it's in 2 years, there's not a lot of, not a lot you can do. And that's why we looked at the tiered rates, to try to shift some of the costs to the larger users.
well, it definitely should be going to whoever consumes more. Obviously, they get the billings, but it should be even regardless, just the way you have it set up, but just, yeah.
And the last time we had a rate hearing, when we raised them the last time, which was my first year, this is what was asked for by the public. The majority that understood what we were doing, but they were upset that we didn't do a tiered rate structure, so that the person that does conserve water doesn't bear the brunt of it. We went 13 years without a rate increase. And that's a long time to go. And it was a decent bump, and we went off the previous rate structure that was over 10 years old. I don't like this any better than you do, Chris, but we're mandated to fix this because we violated. We cannot, if we turn it on, and there is one thing on, if we didn't have another source, you are allowed to run it. The only problem is we then have to offer alternative water to people. Okay. And that means either bottled water, And that runs you probably close to $250,000 to $500,000 a year. Or some sort of vending machine that is operated by a third party that filters your water and fills like a 5-gallon jug for people or what have you. Looking at those in communities similar to us, I've seen costs as much as $800,000 a year to run those. So those are our options, and that's with doing public notice every quarter and mailing it out to everyone saying that the water is contaminated. So we have that option, or put in the treatment plant. Now, there are some things we can do to minimize our budget, but we can't. We don't have the luxury not to do our regular work. Water main replacement, upgrades, the generator, and some of the other things that we have to do.
Contingencies.
Yeah, and we're not going to be the only community in this position.
You're not.
No, I know this because I've been on the statewide thing. It does seem like, if I was looking at a previous slide, I do think we need to present this to the community. When we go through the budget on the next part, there's some things we can do. And what we could do is present the both budgets that Dave gave us. And
Both.
yeah, and because we got to have it into the town tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
And just saying, this is what we're projecting, depending on which way we do, and we probably should present this at least to the Board of Selectmen. And I would say my vote's going to be to do the tiered rate, to be honest with you. It saves most of the people some money. It doesn't, our commercial and stuff like that, there's increases, but they're not killers, in my opinion. And the people that are using most of the water, they'll either change their habits, which in 15 years I haven't seen any of them do. So the people that we're worried about, the average people like you and me, Chris, they're not going to see a huge increase. And that's what we need to communicate to them. But otherwise, I don't know how we run the department. I really don't. We're going to have to bond that out. So the bond debt's going to be that's going to be in there regardless.
I thought most of this was kind of taken care of, like, since it's like a state of emergency, that most, I don't see why people would be paying for it. If it's state of emergency, shouldn't it be funded by higher up? And then,
Well, it is. So this is the way it's going to work. We have to bond it. We have to, the money from the federal government that's coming in is not going to be given to you. It is going to go through the SRF, because that's the existing state infrastructure for finance. It's called the Clean Water Trust. They are going to require us to bond the entire project, which means you have to make payments. What they are talking about is those payments, and they're not exactly sure how it's going to work. But to the extent that you make that payment and then it gets reimbursed to you. But you have to bond it, and you have to plan like they did with the 1%, worst case scenario of having to pay some sort of it. Like I said, the Clean Water Trust has presented 0% interest with principal forgiveness. But that means you still have to pay it and wait for them to pay you back. Mike, am I wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely right. And I've heard the same things that you've heard. And I've seen saying that a certain percentage, a good chunk of the money towards water was going to be used for zero principal forgiveness. What I don't know is how they're going to distribute that. So what we're showing right now is 13.26% principal forgiveness, which is last year's number based on a tier 2 community, which is what you are in terms of it's 1, 2, or 3 in terms of the economically impacted. If that goes up to 18%, I mean, and we're guessing on the 1% because I don't know that you can go to 0 for 30. And we had it originally at 0 for 20, and it's more because it's, a third less payment periods. So everything that we're showing is worst case. And, if you raise your rates that 50%, or for the, going the wrong way.
We have to raise it regardless. It's just which structure we're going to use.
Right.
It's either we use the structure we have now, which is a single, everyone gets charged the exact same amount, which means it would have to go from $37.50 to 56.25.
Yep.
Which is that's almost doubling it. Whereas if we're using the tiered rate one, it's a lot more palatable. Do you have that slide, Mike? Because this is
That'd be pretty close, you would think. You can't change it that much.
No,
They probably fluctuate it the same.
No, actually, the way the tiered rates work is the minimal amount of people that use the most amount of water end up, and that's usually in the summer when they're doing their outdoor usage. And that's kind of why I wanted to make sure that we didn't penalize the commercial, the agricultural, and the school, which that slide showed we didn't.
It's tough.
Where's the slide that shows the effect on, let's see. So on your average person on this slide that uses minimum amount of water, and these are actual usages, they're actually going to save money, Chris. The money the dollar amounts that are in parentheses are a savings to these people. And I think if we send that to them, if you're using 32 cubic feet a year, which is what the average person probably does. Dave, do you know what our average usage is for our residential? I'm sorry, I bit my tongue, so I'm going to talk really funny all night.
That's so hard, but the average person about 10 to 12 a quarter units.
So,
What's what is our residential per capita that we report to the ASR?
57 was the last one.
Okay, so we're below the 65, which is what this is kind of based on. So, all right, Chris, go ahead. You had something
I know
to
this
say.
is very crucial. I'm going to go with what Dave said earlier about saying that if we don't get this rolling next year, there's going to be people that might not have water. Knowing you say that, I can't not push this forward, but I just want it to be out there that people need to know about this as soon as possible.
No, I agree with Chris. I agree 100% with you. Chaz, when's the next Board of Selectmen's meeting?
Tuesday. The 15th,
What time?
6 o'clock.
Any chance we can get added to the agenda, or is it too late?
Yeah, it would be too late.
Could this come under the title of unexpected?
We can always send out an email and have them watch this recap of this.
No, I would I'd rather this presentation be live to them, So
Yes.
so if they ask questions,
Well,
we're there to answer.
there's always, I mean, Dave, is this what you're going to be presenting to the FinCom?
This is part of it.
Okay, so
But I need them to vote on it because I can't do anything with the FinCom until they vote on the budget and this.
That being said, like I said, I changing it, but it's all recorded. Everything's been said. We all know what needs to be done. So we can move forward, get back on track, I think.
Again, what I'd like to say is this is the worst case scenario.
Right.
This is from last year's state revolving fund. If we could get dramatically changed, we could get, I heard 30 to 50, Todd said 100%.
Hold on one second. Let's see.
So things can change dramatically, and we don't have to do a second and third year of rate changes. You know, but
I'm just like, I put in perspective what happened last year. Who knows what's going to happen next year? You know, last year was a very hit for everyone. You know, now this year, the water was a hit. Now, next year, you're adding 50%. Who knows how many of them people are going to have a job or blah, 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 and can afford their last year's water bill. You know, it's
Right
a lot.
and
But like I said, worst case scenario.
right. The first
Well,
year's
no, wait a minute. Let me back up.
Mike, are you talking about doing rate increases each year?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to fly.
See?
all you have to do is the first one, and then
Well,
we'll
I mean, I similarly, when we look at this slide here, I'm looking at, like I said, I'm sorry, I keep going backwards. It's a 75% increase over the, just the first year by 25, it's a 50% increase. So when you're looking at water use going down and,
See,
Costs going up.
this is the whole problem I have with water conservation, and I'm the water conservation officer, is at some point there becomes a tipping point
yeah,
where, even if you conserve water, you're not going to be able to afford it. I thought this is, with this rate structure, this was what would be projecting us this way. I didn't realize you were suggesting that there was an annual increase each year.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're talking, so if we do this rate structure, it would be a 17% increase, correct?
So in the tiered rate structure, the 20% was to the base charge and the tier 1 charge, and then they go up from there. So it's hard to say it's 20% because you're changing the structure. The best way to show it, and I changed this while we were talking, is I changed this to be a 2.5 person household using 65 gallons a day. 2.5 is generally the average household size, and 65 is the full, allotment against your 57 that was actually in the ASR. So that first year, it would go up $243 in the course of a year. That it's not nothing, but it is what it is. Then it's 146, then it's 140, it's 163. So those years is what it goes up. Under those tier rates, it would be $190, $100, $94.
I think
And
it's
then
going to be
actually-
hard.
It is hard.
It's going to be a lot of angry farmers, and
So, well, no, the
Residents,
farmers,
everybody's going to be upset. This is bad.
This is what we signed up for, unfortunately.
right. But again, the first year is the only one we have to worry about now. The other years, we just don't know what the debt forgiveness is. We don't have that information. You know,
And when do we, so I was talking to Luke on something else, and so I asked him about some of this. We're not exactly going to be ready to do this until what, 2025, the plant itself?
no, we're talking about breaking ground this year.
That is not what Lou said.
That's it. I have it all in the writing for the quote. We are going to start designing as soon as,
Dave, the material is 32 weeks out. There's no way we're going to break ground this year.
we're going to put the water line in first from Witches Brook to Harbor Trace. That can be done.
How we have nothing stamped. I don't see anything from Ty and Bond. Then we need to have a meeting with Lou or Tom Mahan to explain when they think all this is going to start, because that is not the conversation I had with Lou.
Yeah, that's what I had, and it's in the package here. I put it in here.
I understand that, but the engineer is saying something completely different.
Well,
You
he's the one
don't,
who
even
wrote
have you don't even have the pilot study done, so you don't even know what type of treatment you're going to have.
Right now, we're waiting for the SRF. That, and then we have to do the meeting in May and to vote it in.
I understand that. What I am saying to you is you can't go, you have to be shovel ready. We don't even have the pilot study complete, so we can't do the engineering or design, which that's probably not going to be ready until sometime of July or August for them to start that.
Right, for the treatment plant, we're gonna be doing this design all the way through the winter. But we can be doing the water line first, which can be done a lot quicker, which has to be done. There's two phases. There's two different projects. The water line has to be brought from Witches Brook. And
But
that
here's the problem with SRF and what you're talking about. If you expend money now, SRF will not reimburse you for it.
we're not spending money until we get the state revolving fund. Then you have till July 30th of this year for the town to accept it.
But
And then the
we're
contract.
not applying for it until August, though.
Right, the contract has to be, the first contract has to be awarded by the 15th of October.
You apply for SRF in August,
Correct.
all right? They don't make the decision until January on who gets that money.
Correct.
So we're already into
February.
2023 before we even know whether no. Yeah, 2023.
Correct.
For which part, though? For both? Are you going to go for both parts, or are you going to include them as a?
Any part of this project, a contract for part of it has to be awarded by the 15th of October of this year.
No, you can't. You can't award the contract if you don't have the money to pay them. Mike, am I wrong in this?
Yeah, we have the debt service for the SRF project starting in FY25,
All right.
Correct.
which is what I thought. So
Jazz, am I wrong in the way this works? Have you dealt with SRF or funding from the state?
I didn't. Well, I think you're from what I'm understanding, you're right.
Well, I read the deadlines. The deadlines are you get awarded, and you fill it out in August. You get awarded in January, February. The town has to vote to accept it by June 30th of 2022.
Would that mean
No, because we're not applying until August of 2022.
right?
You still gotta accept it. You gotta.
It hasn't been awarded yet. We're not applying until August of 2022. We won't know until January of 2023.
That's not how it works. When you get
We haven't
awarded-
applied, as far as I know, we have not applied for anything yet, correct?
when you get awarded the money, which
Yes.
is with any day now, you have to,
Wait a minute, did we
For the
already
30th
apply for all the money for the PFAS?
yes, in August. Last August, we applied for the money.
Then if we did, I don't know if we did it legal, because I don't think it went by
You
the
voted.
Board of Selectmen. It doesn't matter what I voted. It still has to go to the Board of Selectmen.
Remember the meeting we
This
went?
Mike guy, he's a
July?
good guy. Look at him. We need him here more often.
I went to the meeting. You were there, Todd, and I asked the Board of Selectmen to vote on it. And they did.
We are not on the intended use plan.
That's last year's. Is that the one with Littleton?
Yep, and Acton.
Yeah, that's last year. That's 2021.
So we're still waiting with bated breath for the 22 IUP to come out.
Correct.
So what we can do, Dave, to buy us time right now, is what I would do is send FinCom and Ross both budgets. We don't know if we've been awarded it. We
Well,
can't go,
The second one is in the budget. The second one is projected rates. We'll be in the red. We'll be in the red this year with,
so we'll get to the budget in a minute, because I'm not sure that's our complete budget.
No.
But what do you mean, no? It's not your vote.
right there is only a part of the budget. The rest of it's,
No, and I do remember that vote. It was over the summer.
right. It was in July and I asked the town to vote on it.
And we said we didn't have a choice but to go forward with getting this so it would get us the plant. But I
Correct.
still don't think the engineers are going to be near ready for what you're talking about.
No, that's what I said. Any part of the contract, any part of it. has
But
to be-
Dave, you don't even have a design for the water main.
Right, but we don't have the SRF yet. You need that before you can do anything. And they haven't sent it out yet. They haven't awarded it.
No, I know. Everybody's waiting on it.
Right, so until then, all that timeline's gonna get delayed. And then the town will have to vote to accept it. And that'll be in the May.
Sorry, I
in the May,
did forget that vote. It's been a while since we had that vote.
Yeah. It's, yeah, almost a year. So
But
one thing at a time. Right now, we're waiting for the SRF.
have you, I need. Well, Mike, I appreciate this. If we do have a meeting and we can give you enough notice, is there any chance you would be available for a community meeting?
Yeah, so I was sweating when you were talking. This is like April 15th for if I was.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I have meetings, the same thing we're doing right now, next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. I will squeeze you in anywhere else I can.
So, Chaz, when is the next Board of Selectmen's meeting beyond next Tuesday?
It would be the 21st, I think.
I need to see a calendar.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Wow, 21st is way past tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. That's a Monday.
No, I take it back. So 15th, it would be March 1st.
Oh, boy.
Chris, Mike, can you be available March 1st?
Why, I just,
I just want to bring up that you might want to take a vote that whatever rate increase will be brought back to in effect for March 1st of 2022. So whatever it is.
I didn't think we could make it effective until July 1st.
You can't. Then you're going to throw it all off. You got a 4-month delay in any
All right,
billing.
wait a minute.
Any water used from March 1st going forward goes into the July bill.
So what if we did, it didn't start accruing until July 1st?
Then you don't get any of the money till October, and that throws this whole chart off. And then you're going to have to make the rates larger.
that's what
Yeah.
happens. Well, yeah, so that's where we were, I thought originally, and it's so, yeah, if you did what Dave just said and you miss a quarter, then you're basically losing 3/4 of it. So on the model, it's going to say 60% rate increase, but it's not for the whole year. So it's hard to say. And Mr. Jones, I'm going to mess with you because I just looked up your usage, and 'cause I wanted to see. And
How bad is it?
and I'm not messing with you, but this is how you relate to people. This is what my bill's going to do, and this is what is going to go up. And you're actually right on that cusp. You're 1,400 was your last bill that I see, and
So that's
so you would save money. You would save $29 on a water bill. for that.
No, I'm just-
Oh, but and
Remember, this is recorded, Chris.
I'm just playing everybody.
Somebody adjourn the meeting now, please.
Yeah, no. So
no, and that but seriously, when you talk to the public, 50%.
That's huge, really.
But then when you say, all right, we had this horrible thing happen, it's going to cost, some people $150, $200 more for the whole year. When your taxes change, they go up by more than that.
So what on these new rates, the other thing that I've found helpful is everyone looks at their quarterly bill and compares it to their monthly bill. So we were looking at quarterly bills. So those were annual totals you had, correct?
When I showed the, let me get back to that.
Yeah, annual totals.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Let me,
So what I'm saying is what I've found helpful is if you know what the quarterly is, and then you break that by 3 months.
right.
And so say the water bill, say it's $400. Well, no, that would say it was like $500 for the year. So you're looking at 100 and something a quarter. Divide that by.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just spitting numbers out. I'm not actually doing math in my head right now.
Yeah, right.
This one is, these ones are, to be clear, these slides is just one bill. The high period bill and the low period bill. When I get down, to here, sorry. Here, this is an annual total, so it's 4 water bills.
All right, I can't see anything. Can anybody
Oh,
else?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was looking for it.
Me too. I'm like,
No, you know what? There's like another step you have to click.
There
Sorry.
we go.
all right.
So these are a total annual cost. Again, for 2.5 people using 50 gallons a day, that's a
All right.
small water. That's like your
So-
big water.
All right, so take 500, divide that by 4. You're what?
125.
125 a quarter.
Right.
Divide that by 3, you're at like $40 a month.
Oh, I actually show this. This is your quarterly bill and how much
Wait a
it goes a quarter. So
This is quarterly numbers?
these are, I'm sorry, I do both. This is annual
Yep.
and
No, it's-
these are quarterly. And I changed this while we were talking to be 2.5 people using 65 gallons a day.
Wait a minute, where's the quarterly?
So this is
number?
quarterly bill. So it would go up 37, 35, 41. Each, of the 4 quarterly bills would go up by $40, which is the, except for the
All
first
right,
year.
where do you show that? Because I'm not
I
seeing
did,
that.
this is live in the model. This is the
Oh, okay.
actual spreadsheet
Okay.
model.
right.
I spend more time than you would think thinking like what to show, what not to show. And,
No, but so what I'm trying to show people is what their monthly
sure.
cost is. And then what would be nice, and maybe we can, Chaz, maybe you know this. Do we know what the average monthly bill for like cable, cell phone is for Townsend?
You get run out of town.
Why?
I don't know. I found that when I first started to do this, I think, that's 30 cents a day. And I was lambasted. So I'm always careful.
No,
of
but
that.
what I'm trying to do is compare a month, what is actually a month, we only bill quarterly because we don't have the, it would cost more to bill monthly almost.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
So we bill quarterly to save costs, but that quarterly bill, when you compare it to their monthly bills, it looks larger. If you break that quarterly bill down and say, okay, you pay on average $200 a month for your cell phone. This will make you pay $42 a month for water for your house. And I think people will relate to that a little bit better than, I don't know.
This is all about relating to people. So
No, and that's what I'm trying to get them to see that, these are costs that, that are going up. But one, we've got an unexpected goose egg of PFAS that we have to deal with. There's no ifs, ands, or but about it. And then, I think their overall, if you tap in this overall number, and I think that those are good numbers to show as well, but I think we need to break it down and show them what their monthly costs are and show apples to apples. Because if you show a quarterly bill and you compare it to a monthly bill, it's apples to oranges.
yep.
If we're comparing monthly bills, Chaz, is there any way we can grab those numbers from some? Is there? Who's the regional authority? MCOG or?
Well,
For what?
it's I'm going to agree with Mike to say you really shouldn't be comparing any other utility or any other bill to this. You have a situation. This is what you're asking me for my opinion.
Yes, sir.
Okay? This has nothing to do with the selectmen or whatever.
No, it's,
Transparency is the most important thing. You go in and this is what's the situation. This is how we are looking to deal with it. The best way for us to deal with it, have these 2 options, a flat rate or a tiered rate. These are the two rates. This is the price of this, and this is the price of that. Who has questions on it? And that's the,
Right.
I mean, we did the same thing with PFAS. You saw how that worked with us too. You know, we need to present it to the public and say, this is what the story is. This is what's going on. Anybody have any questions on it? Because this is
what we're
it is.
facing.
This is what we're facing. You know, I understand, Chris, where you're coming from as well. This is, you know, you and I are the standard users because we fit in that magic 1500 thing, 1500 range that Mike is talking about. But here's the thing, you know, we're always going to be using that amount of water. I don't use any extra. I don't water my lawn and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's if you look at it on a cost by cost basis, it is increasing, yes, but it's not increasing a lot for me.
When you say 50%, it's just a big number. So
Oh,
in
yeah.
your head, it throws you up against the wall.
No, I hear you. Well, did you open your utility bill this month? You know, so it's all relative, and unfortunately, these prices don't go down; they keep on going up. So, my opinion is that, you know, we just need to be transparent and just this is what we're
Put
faced
it out
with.
there.
This is what we have. You know, telling the truth and being transparent. What can people say? You know, I don't think they'll be knocking on your door, buddy.
Chris, and
Yeah.
this is why, Chris, to be honest with you, this is the reason I wanted, before we just came up with something willy-nilly, this is why I wanted the rate study done. It gives us footing to say, this is why we're doing this.
Yep.
These are actual comparisons. These are actual costs that we're going to incur, whether we like it or not. We're going to incur them, and it's like it or not, this is what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, and I agree with Dave here that there's so many variables here, and this is worst case scenario. And for planning purposes, Chris, you always got to plan for the worst case.
That's true.
And if we get that SRF and it is 0% interest, 0% forgiveness, there's nothing saying we can't either hold the rates or reduce the rate increases or hold steady for whatever.
Absolutely.
Absolutely correct.
This needs to be looked at every year. That's the thing too, Chris, and this is what's put you and me in a bind, is the boards before this, that 10 to 13 year period, they never looked at it and they kept the rates static for that long of a time. And if you read anything about water, and I can send you some information, Chris, Mass Waterworks, New England Waterworks, American Waterworks, all has great information on this. You need to, at least, if not every other year, look at, you should be looking every year at your rates and see if they're sustainable. But every other year at a minimum or a maximum, you do some sort of rate increase so that you're not hitting people with this huge whack.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking, the scenario, Mike,
Yep.
the 1%, the 1.3, 1.4%, are those the percent increases year over year?
This is the residential indicator.
Oh, okay.
The percent increase, well, the rate increases are here. So it's 50% across all the numbers, 20%, and so on. If this one, you should think about how to show that it's really not 20%. It depends on which piece you're looking at. But then from there, it's 15%, 12%, 12%, 8%, 2% on the tiered rate.
So most of our costs increase, to be honest with you, are going to be, if I'm looking right, new debt and debt services.
Yeah, it's
And-
the PFAS debt.
Yeah. The
If
rest
that
of
goes
it,
away, that goes away.
yeah, I know. If that goes away, we're well ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But on this slide, I think it's appropriate in being transparent. Our operational costs
stay somewhat, I mean, they increase a little bit, but then they're not, what?
3% a year is what we're showing.
You know,
Plus the first
that's,
23 bumps up a little bit to add some stuff, and then from there it's 3% a year.
Right, because you're going to hire a couple new people to run the plant whenever it gets.
so I, you know, we can talk about that in a second. Mike, I don't have any questions for you other than, can you be available March 1st?
Yep.
And there is room on the schedule, so I'll see if I can talk to whoever's putting that together. Wink, wink, Misty.
Todd, I wanted to show you this. This is just what you just said, because I see this all the time. I was just up at Maine presenting, and this is a situation, this is your situation. Your consumption's going down about 2% a year. Costs are going up 2.5% a year. Every year you stand still with those same rates, you're losing ground.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's like inflation.
All right. So I don't think we have a choice, Chris. In it looks like the costs are based on the new debt and debt service. I make a motion that we accept the rate structure as proposed. Now, hold on one second. Chaz, can we do it just for 2023? We're not accepting all the others. We're just accepting 2023's rate structure.
Well, Dave, what do you need to submit? You just need to submit for this budget year, right?
I need 1 year,
Yeah.
and then we reevaluate when we get more information
Yeah.
on the
Right.
following years.
So just vote for the next budget season.
All right.
That's what this is intended
Okay.
for, to show what you're voting on.
And
All right.
I'm hoping it gets better than the 13%, because I'm with Chris. I don't want to raise the rates that much, but you know,
All right. So
but I have to.
where I vote to approve the rate increases, the tiered rate system for FY 2023.
Correct.
Do I have a second?
Aye.
Votes. Todd Melanson, chair. Regrettably, aye.
Chris Jones, aye.
All right. So we have those set. We have the meeting. Should we do additional advertising beyond just the regular meeting, Chaz? And should this be a joint meeting of our two boards?
You know what? I would talk to Russ about that, because I'm wondering if because I know the FinCom and the selectmen are probably want to have a conversation about it, and those are going to be televised, and we're doing those on Saturdays.
All right. You want to include us in on that meeting then?
Well, you will be once Dave submits it. They'll put you right on.
And then I'm going to get phone calls. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
What's Saturday?
I can do Saturdays too.
Which Saturday?
Oh, I don't know how that's going to work. That's why.
Oh, it's going to be on Saturdays.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, they're going to do the higher budget items. They're going to group them together. So a lot of the budgets that are coming in, if they're like 3% or lower, they're probably not going to be pulled in to talk. But ones that have budget increases, then they're definitely going to. That's where you'd be able to present.
so that everybody else knows, and so this is recorded as well, what we're hearing about the EPA, because the EPA is supposed to release their new standard. So if you take 70 right now, they are talking about reducing it by a magnitude of 10. So if you take 70 and you divide by 10, they're talking about the new standard being 7 parts per trillion.
Now, I don't know how that's going to work with us because we group it. We didn't set individual, and they're kind of figuring all that out. If they do that, I don't know of many communities in the state that are going to be within standard, so to speak. But definitely anything above 10 is going to have to be treated. So I think it's frustrating to be in the situation because we didn't cause it. And you know, we were doing things to, you know, make the department what it should be. So anyways, Mike, I thank you for your time. We've got to go over the budget that's going to get submitted. So you don't have to hang around for that, unless you want to.
I'm good.
So I appreciate your time. Please, if you can, we still keeping that March 1st date, Chaz?
Yeah, we can keep that if you want it.
Yeah, I do.
Informational.
So I think, and if you could, and I would sincerely appreciate your support of being there.
Yeah, you know, and if I may speak freely, Chris, all of the things you said were a perfect point of view. And as we go through this, if you could think about what works for you or how you would explain it yourself, that's very powerful because, you know, we're not selling anybody. We're not convincing them. We just want to, you know, to the extent you can, show them accurately, alleviate their concerns or you know, address them. And I think that your board is a nice cross-section that will relate well to the people. And that's what this is about, is just talking to people.
Thank
So-
you. I appreciate that. And it's nice meeting you as well.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
So, Chris, do you have the budget?
I think I got it somewhere here. What number is it? 3?
Before we do that,
Yes.
the other part of the rates. If you have that next one that it says 3.1, the rate structure.
Yeah. Hold on.
Is that the old one or the?
Well, it's the new one, but it says placeholder pending new rates. You voted on the new rates. Then I need you to accept the rest of it.
What do you mean the rest of it?
Basically, before there was if you go down, you see the first section that says placeholder pending new rates.
Yeah, I see that.
So that,
Oh, so we changed the system development numbers.
just for the first two. It went from 2,500 to 3,000, and then from 3,500 to 4,000, and the rest stayed the same.
No, and that actually puts it in line pretty much with the state average.
Correct. That's what I did. And
Is that
then
everything else stays the same, Dave, or?
Oh. Sprinkler charge fee, it was 37. It was $37 every 6 months. It's $25 per inch per quarter, because we actually lose money. So it's not much. But it's now per quarter instead of semi-annually, and so it's less than the $37.50, but it's a little more for a year. So that changed. There's a turn-on fee on the old rates, but
Yeah,
now there's a turn-on fee and a turn-off fee, because you
that
got
makes sense, because you got to go out both times.
right.
No, all right.
Then the labor rate, the final reading rate, the meter testing and backflow test charge are all 75. It just makes it consistent, and because we lose money at $50.
No, and he's right about that.
And then cost per parts is 10%. Fire flow test stays the same. The hydrant use stays the same. Now, if you were hooked up illegally to a hydrant, you got a $50 fine. That's the old way. So,
Dave, wait, on that part, is that in the rules and regs or is that in the bylaws?
not the rules. We changed the rules and regs, so it says, see the rate structure.
All right,
So whatever the rate structure is what goes. Now,
all right, but this one part, the unauthorized use, that is not in the bylaws, correct?
correct.
All right,
It says that you get fined for unauthorized use because
All
we
right.
took all the numbers.
yeah,
Now, before it was $50, but if you don't give it $200 for the hydrant use and a $100 fine, which puts it in line with someone who's doing it legally. Because
Who knows how many times they've done it and how much they actually take, and that's a low number.
yeah, it is.
right, so it's not changing anything. It's
No,
just
Dave, I'm okay with it. You answered the question that I had. I just wanted to make sure we weren't changing something that was in the bylaws, and because that would need to get done at an annual meeting.
we already
Oh.
we already changed the bylaws. We changed all the rules.
The rules and regs, we didn't change any bylaws because that has to be done at an annual town meeting, I think. Am I
Right.
correct, Chaz?
Yep.
All right,
But this brings it in line with the rules and regs.
all right. Then
Meter,
so you want the whole thing, the whole schedules of rate and fees approved?
correct.
I make a motion that on item 3.1, that we accept as written the proposed schedules and fees as listed. Chaz, do I need to read them all out?
Nope.
All right,
Just make sure that Misty attaches that to the minutes.
all right. So I make a motion that we accept as presented under proposed 3.1, the schedule of rates and fees as written. Do I have a second?
Aye. Chris Jones, aye.
You got to second it first, Chris.
I second it.
I'll take a vote. Todd Melanson, chair. Aye. Chris Jones?
Aye.
Motion's been made, seconded, and passed. All right.
Is there an effective date on those, or does that go into effect as of July 1st?
March 1st.
March 1st, because the billing has to be, it'll be on the July bill, but it'll start accruing now. I don't think we have a choice. All right. Now, getting to the budget. So a couple of things. The line item under the summer help and temporary staff, you bumped that up to cover any sort of injury or like temp help,
Correct.
not so much the summer internship program, correct?
Right. I changed the name of that line item
All right,
to include what we talked about before. The summer
Okay.
help, and it says temp help.
yep.
So 15,000 is for the temp help.
Dave, I'm going to tell you on the operations staff, as
Yep.
of right now, I don't think in this budget we can add two. Well, first of all, I don't think we can add the two workers. What?
Right. But see, right now, if we hire somebody anytime during the year, you have to budget for it.
I don't think we're going to be hiring them anytime in this budget. You're not going to be operational within the 2023 budget.
Right. As soon as we know when everything is going to happen, then we can have this discussion. But if I don't create it, then we can't do anything.
I think we put this off till the 2024 budget because you're not going to hire them until we're well on the way to having the plant up and running.
Well,
So
you don't.
I think,
You need them here 3 to 6 months before.
how? You don't have a plant running. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to hire someone right off the boat that hasn't had operational plant experience.
Nobody has operational plant experience for a PFAS plant.
Yeah, they do, to be honest with you. But I'm talking actual plant experience. I'm not going to hire a T1 or to start on a brand new plant. I'm going to want someone that has a 2
Right.
or
That's why.
3 with experience.
That's why it's blank. Remember, if we don't create the position and put a line item in it, there's zero chance of. Right now, I don't know what the timelines are, but if you don't put it in, you can't do it. You can't hire it later on.
I'll
And the
meet you halfway. I'll meet you halfway by saying one. I can't in good conscience because the plant isn't going to be set or doing. And I think this is something that we can put off, to be quite honest with you, because
You could be right, but if you don't put the line item in, you can't do anything, and the worst thing it goes is the free cash.
no, actually, we could hold a special meeting if we needed to. I'm
Right, but you got to budget it, otherwise
no, we're not. How do you go to people and say, I need to do this, but the plant isn't even built yet? I really and truly.
right, but you can't hire people after you build the plant.
No, but we're not even ready to build the damn thing yet.
Right.
We're not even, if we were like halfway through building the
Right,
plant.
all I'm doing is creating the position. And then as soon as we know timelines, we can go over when we're gonna hire people.
This is for 23 anyway, right? This is next year's.
All the way from,
It starts
way-
July 1st.
Oh, okay.
Your fiscal year, Chris,
Yeah,
when we talk fiscal year, it goes July 1st to June 30th.
gotcha.
So Chaz, I'm going to ask you if we didn't do this and we found that we had a better idea of when we stood, we could create these positions and add these to the budget in a special meeting, correct?
Special town meeting, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes, you always can do that.
And
I don't have the budget in front of me. Are they positions that are funded?
you have to fund the position to be able to create one later on. You don't have to hire it. But
that would leave, I mean, how much, it's about $100,000, about $101,000 increase.
But then free cash and bring up our reserves back up after Main Street is the work that'll happen.
I got a question. The 281,000, that's how much that's split between the two of them?
No, that's for all the staff, Chris.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
The
I was
180
gonna say, I
is
gotta
what,
change jobs.
the 180 right now is what we pay, what we had budgeted for 2022. Okay. He's talking by adding 2 positions of adding another $100,000 to that line item.
Right.
Okay.
And the worst, it'll go back to free cash and get our reserves back up. We can delay or not hire at all. But if we don't do it, you can't do it. But at worst is if I can delay it as long as possible, it goes to our cash reserves, which I devastated with getting Main Street and online without debt.
No, I know.
But I'm trying to pull miracles on keeping the water department above water and having people with water. And and I'll be down to $100,000 in free cash. So
But no, Dave, I get that. And that's unsustainable. And I understand that.
right, but the longer I can delay hiring people, the better off we are. But if I don't fund it, you can't do it. You know, so but I like I said, the state revolving fund, I don't know.
Nobody does.
Right. So that's the next step. But if I don't plan for the worst case scenario, then I can't do anything.
That's the biggest increase that I see, I think.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. I upped the energy cost because energy costs are up 10%.
No, and that's a given. The 3% raises to everyone, that's in the contract.
Yeah.
One thing though, I don't think you can name Kevin Keefe distribution manager. We don't have an approved job description. Chaz, am I correct?
But that's what but if you approve the budget, we'll work on that. And it's just bringing the framework in.
But on this budget, I'd like that removed because we can't put that in writing because there's nothing approved for it.
Right, but the budget gets approved for April. We can work on this with the next meeting.
All right, but what you submit to FinCom tomorrow, I want that removed because it's not a legitimate position right now.
Well, that's what it's budgeted for, and we can.
Then you need to go back to a 3% raise because you can't give a raise for a job that doesn't exist.
Right, right. But that's one of the ones we have to create.
Well, I don't agree with you. I've gone back and forth with I don't know how many superintendents. I think you're better off having like a one primary operator in the plant potentially, but then cycling everybody else through. I'm having a hard time for a system of 2,000 connections of our size, having a staff of what you're projecting. They do not have to be in the plant specific. There's nowhere in the regs. I've already gone to DEP. I've gone to the Board of Licensure. There's a certain amount of time of 4 hours a day, but the rest of the time they do not have to be in the lab, the treatment plant or specific to treatment.
But what you do have to have is you have to assign someone as the distribution.
No, you don't.
That's
you, or you have a foreman right now. That's who that's supposed to be. You do not need a distribution manager. We're nowhere near the size of having someone of that title. I'm sorry, we're just not. And I can't, the 3% raise to him, yeah, like everybody else, but I don't see, one, it's not a justifiable position. We haven't okayed a job description for it or anything else like that. I don't think you can put almost a 10% raise to someone for a job that doesn't exist currently. Now, if we, over the next year, figure out that will be maybe in the 2024, but in this budget here, I cannot support almost a 10% increase in someone's salary.
right.
Not when we're asking the rest of the community to foot some fairly large bills. I think that would kill us. The 281, I'm kind of okay with, but
I put that in there. This is all the worst case scenario. You know, I put it in there.
I'm asking you to make it a 3% raise and go back to that because it's not a position. It puts him well above everybody else. I don't even know what that does for the union in the step that he's in.
Chris, I'm talking an awful lot. What's your opinion on this?
It's, I'm taking it all in. I think that maybe could be altered a little bit.
I guess my main, I mean, like I said, that's not going to be done in like 1 or 2 meetings.
But if you put it in the budget, then it's there. If you don't put it in the budget, then there's nothing you can do. Remember, everything's the worst case scenario.
Also, Dave, any sort of promotion has to go through our board and
Correct.
approved by our board. So, no, I want that back to a 3% raise. Whatever the contract says he gets, he should get. The position doesn't exist. We haven't approved him as that, as a board. It's not within your purview to promote someone like that. You can bring it to us to say, but to outline that on the budget like that, I'm sorry, I can't go along with it. It's a
But
position.
Let me leave that budget item alone, and then I'll take the justification out, and we'll figure out all the positions later.
You need to put it back to what's
That's-
that? It's a 9% raise. That's well above what the contract calls for.
Right. But like I said, this is all worst case scenarios. I'm just trying to make sure.
Not on the salaries. 'Cause if I'm wrong, if we put this as a salary, that's what he will get paid. Am I wrong, Chaz? Chaz, if we
I
put
don't.
that in,
This is too close to deliberation, so I don't.
Right. But
Okay.
none of this is a worksheet.
no, this is the budget you're submitting to FinCom.
No, that's a worksheet. That's not the budget.
Is that 62,000 in the 281?
See, right on the bottom, it says it's a labor worksheet. It's not a budget.
All right. So what this budget worksheet is what you're going to submit?
I'm doing the expense worksheet and the payroll budget worksheet. That's what they have to approve.
So let me ask you a question then. Let me back up.
Yeah.
All these numbers that we see on this worksheet, does that go into the 281? Does that go into the 281?
Say that again? Yeah, it's all going to the 281. The 281 is the worst case. And just like for Miss, when she
Hold on.
gets
So I thought the 281
is everything.
was so with
All-
all these increases, all these increases, plus adding 2 people, you think you're going to be able to do it for $100,000?
because I only had like the second person for a month.
From the previous budget?
I only funded I brought one person in whenever we hired them. The other one, if we wanted to hire him at the end of next fiscal year, we could, just in case the timelines got tight. Because it was projecting from 6 to 9 months out to have somebody in to get them trained to be able to run the plant. But I don't know when the timeline is. But if I don't have the money budgeted, you don't have any leeway.
Dave, do you know what this does for the union? Does this put him out of his step?
No. But remember, this is just for budgetary purposes. This has nothing to do with change orders or change in pay or change in rate. I will tell you, like, just for Misty, when she gets all her licenses, because of she is going to get the minimum rate of a water operator.
No, and that's justifiable because and
Right.
we approve that. And so I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is budgeting for something we haven't approved, for someone we haven't approved.
Right.
In a year, I'm,
Remember, this is just budgeting for, and we need to, until the SRF gets approved and the town approves the treatment plant, we have no idea what the timelines are going to be. And that's straight up.
I'm sorry, I still can't support putting that into the budget this year. I think it should be a straight 3%. We're increasing rates in people's expenses. I don't think, I'm, if you want to go line by line on it, that's one that I would vote no on.
Right? So you want me to take 50,000 off it?
What would it be if you just got a regular 3% raise?
It would take it probably down 1,000 or 2. Because remember, it's all the steps. It's the worst case scenario in the steps, because it could be a 3, it could be a 4. I'm not the one who's. It's not that much. And still, where is it? Even then, Ryan will make a lot more money than he does.
No, I'm not worried about who makes more money.
No, I'm just telling you.
What's a distributing manager anyway? What
He's
is that?
Yeah, see, and that's where I get confused. I think we're starting to get
It's
too
like
many
a
chiefs, too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
foreman, laborer, operator, superintendent. I don't know. I never heard of a distribution manager. I don't get.
So in larger systems, like I do, I work with a treatment manager and a distribution manager. Treatment manager, all he is concerned about is the wells and the treatment plant. The distribution manager is all the nuts and bolts in the ground. He charged, that sort of stuff. But that's, to be honest with you, Dave, that's what Ryan's job is supposed to be.
Well,
It's-
I was hoping to move him over to the treatment eventually. So we don't have
that's,
for $70,000.
so
In the
if I
long
did
run,
my math right, if you do 56 times 3%, it comes out at 1.68. If you add that to 56, it's 57,068. And I don't know what percentage change that is, but 3% of 56 is,
right now, everything.
wait a minute, now, your math is, all right. So both Alex and Kevin get paid the same amount, Dave, right now?
Yes.
They're the same hourly rate?
Yes.
How much more time in service does Kevin have than Alex?
A year.
That's about right.
Like I said, you're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars.
Well,
And-
no, so at 3%, you're talking,
At 3%, it'd be,
how did you go from 56 to 58 and did you just round it to 2,000? Because that's not 3%.
I rounded the numbers.
Okay. So
To
if
the,
you made it to, 58,
but also remember, if union negotiations go on and they change things, and because right now it's 1% in a step. If union negotiations happen and they change it to 3% cost of living, then that's 5%.
but if it's not in our budget, how can we pay that?
You ratify it.
Right. So that's
You just- Well,
that's why-
but if we set our operating budget without knowing that, how can we make up the difference, Jazz? I don't understand that part.
I added more money to a little extra to everyone just in case. Because otherwise you're caught with your pants down and you don't have any room. And the worst case happens, it's only a couple $1,000s more. You're not talking about 10,000. You're talking about, about $1,000 for each person, and it goes to free cash if you don't use it.
To me, I understand that with line items. I don't understand it with wages and salaries. I
Right.
think that's backwards in doing it.
Well, you can ratify either way, Todd. You can ratify if you need more money to put into it, because we had to do that last year because the contracts were still under negotiation when we had town meeting. And after town meeting, we then had to ratify the contracts with a vote from the Board of Selectmen. We needed
But
more
did-
money. We needed more money to meet the what the negotiations were.
It's just our budget's so tight. If we ratified it, I wouldn't be sure where we would get that extra
Correct.
money from.
So that's why I put a little bit extra in each person, just in case. And if you look at mine, it went down.
No, yeah.
Because we were budgeted at 110 and 6,000. It was budgeted at 16,000 before.
No,
And-
yeah. No, I got that. I just,
So that money, that's where the money came from.
Well, those are the questions that the FinCom might have for you as well. So be prepared.
But there's a little extra money in everyone just in case something happens. I did it last year, and when we did retro pay, I had enough to pay the retro pay without digging into reserves.
how much is in there for the 2 extra positions, Dave?
Hold on. I actually have it. Where is it? 170 and where's the other? And 20. Because I only project, one was a full year.
You have that at 70,000?
Yep. And the other ones are 20. And that was for doing it like someone out of school.
No, I got that.
So it's 90,000. And then the raises were 10.
Dave, remove, you know what? I'm still having a problem with the 2.
You want me to take the 70,000 out and leave the 20? And we hire somebody at the end of the year if needed?
Make it 40, but take the 70 out.
So what I say we had the three kids for summer help, and we decided we wanted to hire them. when they graduate school, we can pull them in before they go anywhere and then train them for a year. And in the long run, it would save us a lot of money.
So if it was put to us to vote to do and stuff, hiring someone that was operational on a treatment plant and then moving Ryan, I don't think we need to create the title distribution manager, to be honest with you. If that is your goal and we
Then we'll-
agree,
then we'll move-
then you can change leave everything. Listen, we got enough on our plate. I really don't want to go through a whole job description thing because that's a lot of time.
Well, the other one,
Um,
how about you think about this? We eventually we move Ryan to the treatment, and then
Has he said that's what his goal is, Dave?
Yeah.
All right.
no matter what happens, if he has the license, it has to be, the union's going to force, if he's licensed. it
Yeah,
has
but
to-
don't ever wear headphones that are attached to your laptop.
So we can make the distribution manager the foreman. So we can make,
Yeah, we could leave the job titles as they are. But the thing being though, Dave, he doesn't have to, this is a brand new plant. He's never worked in a plant before. He's never worked in any plant before, as far as
Right.
I know.
but remember, this is a brand new plant, every plant's different, and
No, I know, but the principles in actually working a SCADA system on a treatment plant or working the controls on the treatment plant are going to be somewhat similar. We're not talking. So
right, when it comes down to it later on, I'm gonna have to be in the plant because the first 3 or 6 months, it's gonna be maybe running 24 hours.
no, actually, well, unless the plant, they're actually making, they allow you'll have to have an operator there and not run it remotely only when the plan is, and it's only 3 months. Only when the plant is operational. You think the
Right.
plant will be running off hours?
If in the summer, yeah. Because it's got 3 wells. It's gonna be more than half our water.
No, I know, but say we put it off to starting it, and we could have it built, but not, well, it depends how we make out this summer if Main Street gets up and running, which
Main
we're on
Street
track.
will save us for this summer.
Yeah,
But if I lose Witches Brook too, and it's I will tell you,
Yeah.
thank God that we're rehabbing Witches Brook too, because the screens were all clogged, all the impellers were disintegrating.
Dave, do you have pictures of that?
Yeah.
All right, that would be good, something to bring to the selectmen's meeting. This is all, we can show them. This is the sort of maintenance that needs to be done regardless of anything else.
Well, I have a 5-year.
This has nothing to do with your 5-year plan. What I'm
No.
trying to say is,
I'm talking about the wells.
no, I know, but we need some sort of visual evidence that the system needs to be maintained or certain things happen.
Right.
And what I'm trying to get at is when we go to this meeting and we show them this, and we show them that where our operating costs are and stuff like that. I want some sort of, the picture you have of the impeller and the screens, because I don't know when the last time those wells were pulled.
Well, put it this way, they haven't been pulled since no maintenance has been done on the wells since Townsend's owned the wells,
Which goes back to,
2004.
yeah.
And from what I understood,
No, and I'll be honest with you, I know before that, they probably weren't at all, because I knew the operator before.
we were scraping by with 400, and every time we turned it on, we were getting dirty water. And
No, I know.
right now,
But that would be, if you can put that into a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Or have them, no, I would like them to be able to be shown on any sort of presentation that is allowable. But if we can show the type of stuff that we have to deal with now, just in general stuff, and that doesn't go away no matter what we do with PFAS, the other stuff doesn't go away. It helps on that.
well, it came
Yeah,
down.
so take the 70 away, all right? But I would
I'll take the
Well, take the 70 away, but put 40 in there in case we need to hire someone at the end of the year.
well, I for the one position, I put 20 in to hire somebody in May. So if I take the 70 away and we put it off to next year, then we won't worry about next year's budget.
All right, I'm good with that.
The
Chris, you
20
all right with-
allows us to get a high school kid out of school and put him in as soon as he graduates.
It's just, I'm looking at the size of systems that are similar to us, and we're building a staff larger than most of them have.
Well, we're
And
right, but if you look at the ones that have treatment plants, Pepperell has
Groton has, they have a treatment plant right now. They're adding, so they got Tom, Mike, Steve, and I think they just got another one. So they have 4. And I don't know if he's going to add another one when his new plant comes online.
right.
So
That's
that
gonna
would be 5. That would be 5.
Right.
You have yourself. You have Ryan, Kevin, and Alex. And and Misty when she gets her licenses. So that would give you 5. But she's going to be an operator plus, she's not going to give up her admin, correct? She's
No.
going to be
I need it in the
admin.
office.
No, I know, but she's going to be an admin with like a backup operator type position, correct?
And when they in the treatment plant, she can monitor during the day.
Okay. So let's budget the 20 for hiring at the end of the year. And then we can go back and see if we're going to need
Correct.
an additional. I don't
Well,
see us going much more than adding one more. I don't.
Well, I think we need 2 because remember this is a union shop that you cannot work more than 1 weekend in 3. Mike's the one who set that up. They refuse to work more than 1 weekend in 3.
Well,
If
it's
you
because they were working every other, but,
right, but
so wait a
that
minute, so if we have, it would be
I need 6 people.
Misty, it would be Misty? Yeah, because you'd have to, well, can the person do the distribution side and the treatment side on the same weekend?
No,
Why?
because if you're in the treatment plant, you cannot leave. If you're manning the treatment plant for 4 hours, you can't leave.
No, because they go and check the wells on that same weekend, dude.
Right, but if you're required to man the treatment plant for 4 hours on a day, you can't leave the treatment plant. What if
But
there's
I know treatment operators go to the plant and then they check the wells, correct?
they can, but that's another. That's
All right,
another.
listen, this is an argument for another day.
Right.
We're taking the 70 off and we're putting 20 on.
Right, so there's
To
gonna
be
be
able to
20.
hire someone potentially at the end of the year.
Right now, there's one position at 70, one position at 20. I'll leave the two, I'll change the 70 to a 20. And so there'd be two that you can hire at the end of the year. You can hire one, but in worst case scenario, it's in there.
All
The
right,
position created and funded. And you don't have to use them.
all right. All right.
And then we'll create,
Chris, Dave and I are doing all the talking.
take 50,000 to 81.
No, it'd save 70 off of that, right?
No, I'm gonna take that position and draw it down to 20. Like you said.
Right.
But a second position, that's 20.
No, I only want one
All right, then
position.
we'll take the 70 off altogether and then make it 211.
All right,
And then we'll put it in the next year when we know when
we know where we stand and where things are shaping out.
right.
Um,
And this gives us an option that if we find someone good in the summer help, that we can get them out of school when they graduate.
all right.
Because finding someone who likes to work is a hard.
No, believe me, I know that. The other thing too is, as much as I don't like to think about it, you know, we can always procure from other less desirable water departments.
What's that?
I just know there's a couple that have kept people stuck in positions, and that there are a lot of them that are looking for new positions. So that would be interesting to see.
Well, I hate to say it, but if you look on the website,
I
Townsend doesn't make as much as a lot of other towns.
No, I know, but that's, to be honest with you, that's probably not going to change. I mean, we can do what we can, but we're stuck with as much as I dislike it, the rate matrix that we have, even if I don't agree with it, and what our residents can afford.
Right.
So let me see. I just want to go through this I went through it before. All right. I agree with your energy. Maintenance, you kept that side. Why'd the SCADA go up? Why'd you bump the SCADA, Dave?
Because we're over.
We're over budget?
Right.
Okay.
Remember, we put Cross Street on this year.
Yep.
We're putting Main Street on, and that's going to eat up. We're doing a lot of work. And
No. You just told me why. That was a good explanation. Professional technical services.
Well, what did I put? Shoot,
You went to 85.5.
What it was before. Oh, yeah. Because
What's underneath that?
85,
What's in that line item?
that's everything from,
Is that engineering? Is that the IT services?
everything. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
IT went up a little bit. Everything went up.
No, I know. Why did you double public works supplies? What's that?
Because we
That's
were
the pipes and brass and all that?
meters. 200 meters a year is about $60,000. And we have no parts, so I've been buying parts for brakes. And
No, I know.
I'm trying to build back up because I'm telling you, this place was so run down, and
Dave, just say you didn't have parts. I'll go with that.
but I budgeted for 200 meters a year for 10 years to change out all the meters, and we're right on schedule. We're right at 300, about 370 meters changed, and I wanted to get to 400 by July 1st, and then start with another 200.
Are you going to plateau out at 200 then
The 200 to 210 is
a year?
10%.
All right. How many, now are we within that 10-year window on all of them now?
No, we got some really old meters out there,
All right.
but we don't know what the dates are because they didn't change the meters. They 10 years ago. They changed the endpoints.
No, they changed the device on the top. Chris, do you know how a meter works? So when we're talking about this, you have an idea?
When you just lets the water in, it
Well,
counts it.
so there's two, well, yeah, but there's two parts to it. There's the brass part that actually has the measurer inside,
Okay,
whether it be a spinner or some of them are they measure magnetism going through. And then you have the device that,
Radio.
the radio that correlates it and then either sends it out or you download it off of that. I think ours are sending it out.
this is all the new stuff, the new,
Yeah, but so what
Okay.
they did before was they left the brass and replaced the electronic head. And the brass one is the one that slows down over time.
okay,
So usually when you change out a meter, you change out the whole thing because usually you're changing to a newer technology anyways. And the part that the state wants to see changed is that brass part because that's the part, meters never speed up. They slow down.
slow down, right,
And the part that slows down is in the brass,
okay,
okay? So that's the one they're worried about. So when you change out a meter, you usually change out both. I think they had just changed out some within a 5-year period and just changed the head to save money, but didn't write, they don't know, so Dave doesn't know the initial date of the installation of the brass part.
okay,
So we don't know, and there is a state standard in the water conservation standard that says every 10 years you need to either change out the meter or you need to test, recalibrate, and or repair. To be honest with you, it's been shown time and time again, it is cheaper just to replace the meter because there's a lot of man hours and everything like that. So when Dave said he doesn't know the start point on a lot of those meters, it's because the radio part was the part that was changed and not the brass. All
I
right.
gotcha,
All I know is they changed about 1,700 radios in 2014 because they got sent a letter that they needed to change all their meters by
Yeah,
DEP.
they hadn't changed and their unaccounted for was,
30%.
which you're supposed to be below 10%.
It was 30% up until this last year, and I got it down to 16, and I'm waiting to find out what this next year's is. I'm hoping it's down to 10 to 12 right now. Because we fixed the brakes partway during the year.
All right. All right. Dave, if you make the changes that we did on,
I'm taking the 70,000 off,
right.
and
You know what? I still go back on, give him the same rounded as everybody else, to be honest with you. Kevin, because he's not foreman yet. We don't have a plant. I don't think I could support creating a distribution manager. Not at this time, even when we have the plant. If we're gonna move Ryan to treatment when the plant is built and the position of foreman becomes open, then that's something I'd be willing to entertain. But I think the larger increase should be, we should bump it back down to the normal
increase. Chris, what's your feeling?
I definitely agree to that, especially, he's not gonna be doing any extra work, just getting paid more.
Well, we'll bring this up when we know better what
And I got another question. I was looking at a little bit of like Kevin and Alex and whatnot. The water tech, what is that means he's got the same license as Miss the water operation as like Missy's gonna have, or
Yes,
okay, well, if that's the case, Missy should be getting this 9% raise to get her up to where she should be.
well, actually, it's more than that.
Okay, perfect.
she-
Definitely
well, she-
should.
As soon as she gets her hydraulics license,
Okay, yeah.
then I'm gonna put in, because she'll have a T2 and a D1. And,
The other-
She's gonna have more qualifications than I do, and I make more money than her.
No, but so the thing is too, Chris, she's not gonna be a full-time operator. She's gonna be in the admin
Backup.
side. Yeah,
But
so
On
I mean,
call though, that's almost more in depth,
Well, no, I know, but
Down
that'll come in on her overtime, I believe.
Yes. And
I just look at some numbers, and if I see those people with those licenses and she has that license ain't up to that par, that just don't add up right in my head.
Well, I think if you balance out that, like 50% of her time, or well, say 60% of her time is going to be in the office, and 40% in the. I don't think, unless
She
was
has
like,
two jobs to worry about. These guys only have the one, so we gotta make right.
No, all right.
the water union contract, which Ms. G's in, says that if she meets the prerequisites, there's a minimum amount that she has to get. And before the 3% and the 1%, it was 25.83. So the new amount would be 26 something. And
All right.
so when
I
she
didn't
gets-
mean to go out of. I was just looking at some
No,
numbers and
No. That's
make it all work
No,
right.
No,
So-
that's
I budgeted for whenever she gets the license,
It comes to play.
comes to play. If she gets
Okay.
September, that's when she gets the raise. If she gets it in August, that's when she gets a raise. Then the rest of it, but it's budgeted for the whole year because I don't know when she's going to get the licenses.
Right, because and personally, I'm a groundsman, I'm an operator. I know a lot of this stuff. The plant guys, they might have a lot more brain knowledge, but realistically,
you'd be surprised how much is entailed in being in distribution as well. It's not. I mean,
a lot of tests. It's a lot up here.
Yeah.
Definitely. I give that credit, no doubt about it.
But just so you know, the Main Street well right now is a treatment plant. And
it's what a T1.
it will be a D2 when I'm Main Street well will end up being a D2.
T.
Because-
You said D.
T2.
Why T2? I thought it's only going to be chlorination.
Right now we got chlorination and there's
And
corrosion control.
yeah, corrosion control. I forgot that one. All right.
So we're gonna
There's a lot
That
to
bumps
it.
it. Wait a minute. That bumps it to a 2.
possibly
That might be something you could argue with.
it's going to be on the border, but it doesn't matter. The treatment plant's going to be a 2.
Oh yeah.
So
You might even be a 3, Dave. To be honest with you, depending
Right.
on how much
So-
they got.
when I talked to DEP, I told him I want to wait to because I've been told we have to chlorinate.
Yeah. No, the chlorination. That. Yeah,
So-
we got
so
mandated.
they-
That's not.
But they agree with the plan is that we're going to put Main Street on. I'm going to strip everything out of the building that I don't need, and I'm going to hook it up for chlorination. So when the treatment plant goes online, Main Street will be chlorinated at the same time.
Dave, how old's the setup in there, the current setup in Main Street?
Depends on which part. Some of it from 1934.
So when we go get ready to decommission that part and switch it over to make it I would contact the Mass Municipal Museum.
Yep.
And see if they want any of those parts.
Well, some of the engines have been updated, and actually the pump is probably less than 10 years old.
Well, give them a shot, see if they want, see if
Yeah.
they, but if there's something that even if the housing's that old, they'd probably want it for that museum.
Oh, the
if it's that
skate,
old.
the old skater board is all like the lights from like you know, ever see the Cold War where they have all the like the panel lights?
Is it as old as Warren Ave?
No, one that older.
So Warren Ave is our historical site, and it still has the old circle graphs.
Oh,
So
it-
that's
There's one on the wall. It's still there.
what at Main Street.
It's still there
Wow.
on the.
All right, that's getting a little far afield. So Dave,
Moving the 281 to 211.
yeah.
All right.
And I'm holding to it. I think because that position doesn't exist and I'm not talking about creating it anytime soon. And we're talking about waiting until the plant comes online to potentially move the current foreman. I can't see giving an extra raise for work that's like Chris said. I think we hold to the 58 and whatever percentage that is for Kevin, and remove the position distribution manager from that and keep it what he is. If you want to call him a senior tech, fine. If you want to boost him a little bit above Alex and go to like 59, I'm good with that. I'm not good with going all the way to 62.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Chris, you all right? You all right with that?
That makes a lot of sense.
Can you vote on the senior tech position?
All right. Now I'm going to ask an opinion of Mr. Chasder. Well, let me ask you, Dave. Do we have a job description approved for senior tech?
I can make one.
No.
No, if we budget it, we have till July 1st to create the job title and get it approved.
How many guys, like you said earlier, too many chiefs are trying to, there's going to be, no one's going to want to pick up the damn shovel when they got super,
No, I
I
know.
think-
But so
no new job names until we get a new plant, and then the rest comes.
All right,
Stick
so
to the same.
all right. So
No new
all right,
jobs.
all right. Yeah, and listen, we're going to have enough to do. I really don't want to go through a whole job description until we absolutely have to. So just leave the title as is, Dave, but put him at 59.
All right.
That's
Definitely
still a decent,
deserves something.
yeah, he's got 1 year over him,
He should be making more.
some more, and I'm good with that. So Dave, those are the only changes I see. So
All right.
we need a motion, don't we?
I make a motion to
Accept the budget as amended.
accept the budget as amended.
Second.
Wait a second.
No, I second it because you made the motion.
I motion, Chris Jones. Am I getting it yet?
Sort of. You're getting a little fifth quicker.
I think he's doing a hell of a job, guys.
Yes, he actually
I'm with
did.
Chad. Chaz, I'm sorry.
So, all right, motion's been made and seconded. Todd Melanson, chair, votes aye. Chris Jones?
Aye.
Motion's made, seconded, and passed unanimously. Dave, just CC me tomorrow, CC myself, Chris, and Chaz, the amended budget when you send it over to Ross, all right?
All right.
Gentlemen, I believe that is the end of it.
Did you want to review the IT contract? That's on there.
Oh, that's right. Is that in the new,
Easy.
all they did was amend the terms to 3 years from 1 year. And what was the other change, Dave?
That was the only thing. The money's right on number 3,
Yep.
right? But they made the mistake and they're changing it. I just haven't got it. All we have to do is change the 12 months term to 36.
All right.
And Adam already said he'll do that.
All right.
I'm just waiting for
I
it.
make a motion that we accept the corrected IT contract with White Mountain IT Services. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Todd Melanson, I'll take a vote. Todd Melanson, chair. Votes aye. Chris Jones.
Aye.
Motion's been made, seconded, and passed unanimously. Please send that, Misty, or Dave, whoever's going to send it to Ross, CC, Chaz, and myself, please. I think that's all that's on the agenda. Am I wrong, Misty?
We just need to discuss when the next meeting is. Back in January? I don't remember when that was. We had discussed meeting again on the 23rd to have our normal meeting. Do you want to do that or do you want to wait till March?
Is there anything pressing that we can't, I mean, we covered some pretty, Dave, is there anything you need done before March?
No, but we just needed to do the informational and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so Misty, I think we can wait until March to do our next meeting.
Okay, do you want to schedule it with the second Monday of the month? So that'd be the 14th?
That works for me. Chris?
That might, that's right on my birthday week. I might be out of town.
Okay. All right.
Are we having a meeting on the 1st or is that a different one?
That's for the, Chris, if you don't, I can go
I
to
don't have
that
to be
one.
there?
You don't necessarily have to be there. We would have to post it as a joint meeting anyways.
Oh, that works for me.
But it won't be
All
a
right.
joint meeting if he's not there.
Say again?
It will not be a joint meeting if he's not there. Because
Correct.
you're all one person.
Right. So it won't be a joint meeting. Chaz, does this need to be a joint meeting, you think?
I'm thinking.
It's just informational and we can
Yeah, I
present it.
don't think it doesn't need to be a joint meeting. No.
No, we'll have.
Only
we'll have
if you had a quorum, you'd have to post it, but I wouldn't worry about it.
Right. All right. So I'll take that on, Mike, Chris.
Okay.
So it'll be, what about the 21st then? If that's your birthday week?
I think, yes. I was kind of planning a trip and I was going to be back the 21st, 20th to 21st. What is that, a Tuesday?
That's 21st is a Monday.
Yeah, that should work for me because Sunday I was going to come back.
Actually, the 22nd works better for me if that's all right.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's a
Actually-
Tuesday.
You're just going to have a meeting on my birthday.
We swap.
It's okay. I'm an old man. I have them all the time.
All right. So, Misty, can we make it for March? Does that screw you up, Chaz, at all?
No, it doesn't. My
I'll
birthday
actually-
is not until November.
There better be a big birthday cake here for us too.
Hey, I'm going to be 61 that day, and you don't want to put candles on that thing.
No. All right. So,
We
About
have
the
to call the fire department.
That's
the
right.
20, Misty, the 22nd, please.
Yes.
Okay. And just send me a reminder about the first, please, at some
Okay.
point.
I am going to eat a piece of cake right in front of you, though.
Fine. That's fine.
It'll be gluten-free. Don't get excited.
Hey, just so you know, the Zoom meetings are going to be ending as of the March meeting.
The March meeting will be our last Zoom meeting. It'll be in person from
In
there
person
on.
after that.
Yep.
Sounds
All right.
good.
That being the case, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Townsend Water Commissioners on February 10th. God, I hate this, having this swollen tongue. At 9:46 PM.
A second.
Motion's made and seconded. Todd Melanson, chair, votes aye. Chris Jones?
Aye.
Motion is passed. Everyone, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
All right.